On the Profiling TV segment this week, I'll be speaking with the Minister of Labour and Employment. He brings us up to speed on how the Federal Ministry of Labour and the federal government was able to reach a compromise with organized labour. He also reaffirms that the timeline given to organized labour will be respected. Congratulations, sir, on your appointment as the Minister for Labour and Employment.
Thank you.
I know it's not been really easy because there's been a lot of meetings.
Yes.
So you are trying to assure us now that the 30 days timeline by the Nigerian Labour Congress and TUC is workable for government to meet up with their own bargain of the agreement?
Well, by the grace of God, because what we tried to do too was to get what we have from the Ministry of Finance. That's why the Minister of Finance was always available to tell us. We spoke about the issue of the buses, the CNG buses, and the conversion, and then all the items that were the tools. We asked him, I asked him, first, let me be sure that that the money is there. He said the money is available. I said, the money is available. I said, yes, then we make the commitment. If the money is available, he told them the money is available. They said, no, that's what they do. By the time you make agreement, Thomas said the money is not there. He said the money is there. Who are thinking of about 500? Yes. But what is raised right now, 100 billion is available. And so, you see, we are also negotiating on the basis of trust. There was this trust. The money is there. So if you put out 100 billion, how many of those buses? All of them were calculated. And they said, take that one off. The 35,000, the 25,000 was rejected. They wanted 40 or 50. We negotiated and we got to 35. We accepted.
For 6 months?
No, I'm talking about...
The 35,000
well, it's not really about the duration this time, because the issue of duration was argued. But what we're saying is that this will now be the temporary measure before the implementation of the salary, the new salary increase. That is the wage.
The new national minimum wage.
So within the time of the setting of the committee, which is one of the part of the agreement, is to set up the committee on the new salary increase. So which will now start immediately. I'm sure right now we're working on it to give Mr. President to make the announcement, so that Mr. President will announce the committee to start sitting. So it is already a legislation. It's already law that from now to April, there will be new salary. So if you calculate the period from now to April, it means that anything you are doing are temporary measures. Sure. By the time you get there is implementation. So we don't want the implementation to again to be prolonged. That's why we're saying we're working with the 6 months. So that as we start the committee will start sitting. We're expecting that before the expiration of that period, they would have reached an agreement. And then implementation will start exactly within that period. So if we calculate, that's why we're always saying 6 months. For them, they rejected. Yes, they said, yes, it cannot be 6 months. Let it be that whatever temporary measures we are doing here will continue when we prolong, when the salary increase is not being done within time. That 35,000 will continue. That 35,000 will continue. But for us, we are thinking that, yes, let us work quickly. We are going to work quickly so that when we get it done, there will be no need for 35. All we will be talking about is the salary increment, and which will involve that 35 plus other things that are going to be negotiated. So we give and take so many of them, and you know, my role was double. First, I was leading the government side, but I was also sitting as a conciliator. That is what the role that is given to Minister of Labour. You sit as a conciliator. As a conciliator, at a point you must shift from federal government to Labour. Where you see they are making a justifiable agreement, you move to them. So I was moving from them. Sometimes I move to Labour, and I come back. Labour will harass me, will come back to me again and said, you are abandoning us. You are the one that is the problem. You will be the problem. And then I'll shift back to, sometimes I also move from federal government side to labor to support them. And my colleagues will look at it and say, look at you, you are supposed to lead us, but you are already giving out to labor. My role is not to lead you alone. My role is to see an arbiter, to mediate. So whatever it is guided by the ILO, the labor law, International Labor Conventions. So let me not be seen taking side, but I represent federal government. Because whatever is done today is because I'm a Minister of Labor and Employment. So that was how we saw ourselves, with that kind of understanding. But it wasn't really a negotiation that was that brought in physical exchange or nothing. Yes, it was hot, but with very, very cogent reasons on both sides, explaining and also understanding.
Very brilliant negotiation, as you've described.
Yes.
And I think the federal government workers would definitely be much happier.
Yeah.
But that brings us back to state and local government workers.
Yes.
As the arrowhead of this conversation, what would be your recommendation to state government to ensure that workers at the state level and at the local government level earn decent wage?
Yes, we did that. In part of the agreement, there was also an item for that, which we made a pronouncement that we urge the local government, the states and private sectors to also know that this is increment that will stand in temporary standing as a temporary remedy for palliatives, if you call it that way, for the implementation of the withdrawal of the minimum wage, of the subsidy. And subsidy affects everybody. Not think that, this is all about federal government. It's also going to affect your workers. They are going to go to the same market. They are going to ply the same transport. Whatever is affecting these people is affecting you. So it's like a signal. Let everybody sit alert and begin to prepare to implement the same thing. So we met in one of the items to appeal to the state to start. Are
you appealing or recommending?
Yeah, because no, because we don't have a right to them. They have we're running a federal system. We're a federal system, and so they have a decision to make. Even when it comes to salary increment, at the end of the day, minimum wage, it is joint meeting, because whatever you decide, you are going to take a decision with all of them.
So have you been able to engage with probably the Nigerian Governors Forum or group of bodies of governors to probably engage them more to see what they can do or to encourage them to do the needful?
Well, that is what we met in our suggestion. We said we will not be waiting for people to go on strike before we start meeting. Immediately after that engagement, immediately after that communique, we are already engaging the labor, continuous engagement, both the labor and the state governors, and even the local governments, to analyze, to also tell them why it should be this way, or why it should be this way. It's going to be hard on government. It's not easy for government to talk about trillions now, but we're telling them that you must gear up towards this. It has never happened before. You wake up, you withdraw subsidy, even before negotiation. But this time, the subsidy has been withdrawn. So the negotiation must go on. So we're engaging them. We're all engaging them. Because recently, palliatives were given to the states. They said they gave them already, I think, 5 billion or so each to each state. That itself was already generating this anxiety of increase in the states, because they are already beginning to say, oh, so much money is coming to states.
Yeah. So they should share more?
They should share more. They should add. When they had this, I am sure in all the states now, all the unions are also meeting to say the same implementation will come here to the state. It's not going to be easy, but I know that with a lot of dialogue, people will understand. and they must pay.
We all agree that inflation has quadrupled lately, and would like to know what the federal government is doing in terms of intervention into specific sector, especially the agricultural sector.
I think that is done comprehensively. If you hear what the Minister of Finance said, if you also look at what the President has done, he has set up an economic team, heavily, I think, led by the Ayodele, also a very good team that is going to be working towards addressing some of these issues. We know that, yes, sometimes we'll be talking about the exchange rates. Sometimes we will also be talking about inflation when there's huge sum of money in circulation. So without, you must set up a committee to also be advising on this. There's already a set-up committee inaugurated by Mr. President, and the finance also have a lot of measures towards addressing inflation. So whatever we're doing is also doing with advice and recognizing that it may also lead to inflation. So all those things are taken into consideration.
Nigeria sits as the chairman governing board of the International Labour Organization.
Yes.
What engagement have you been able to make with our representatives there? And looking at how probably that position can be profitable to Nigerians and Africans at large. It is
going to be profitable because whatever you are doing, you need a lot of collaboration with the ILO. Because ILO is a world body that is set up to oversee transactions, to oversee control of activities for workers all over the world. Where you see infringing on rights of workers, that is the body. Fortunately, we are now at the chair of the governing board. We are preparing for the ILO, which is coming up at the end of this month. And I'm very happy too that I'm the minister. I'm the one that is going to lead the delegation. And with kind of measures that have been done in this country, especially cooperation of Mr. President, we are hoping that we are going to be leading the African nations too. Well, first, our concentration will also be with our fellow African nations. I just had a visit of the country director and their directors to inform us of some of the things that they are doing and what we are expecting to go and do, and to argue for some kind of a convention that we are also going to support or not to support or not to support. So without that, we are already at the leadership in Africa to lead the African nations to the ILO. There are a lot of benefits from ILO. Like you see in a lot of our training, if you are talking of child labor, you are talking of decent jobs, you are talking of employment, you are talking of skills for the younger generation. All those support will be supplemented by the ILO. They provide the training. They provide the capacity training. And so all those things you need from them. It is only when you also follow the regulations, because we are signatories to the convention. So we must keep to the regulations.
Finally, before I let you go, unemployment and underemployment seems to be one big issue that Nigerians are faced with. Is there any blueprint or any plans in place to ensure that we have more young people gainfully employed, or maybe if they have their own businesses, what level of support can they get to ensure that they are also able to contribute their own quota to nation building?
That is one aspect that I will always respect Mr. President. Even during the campaigns, what Mr. President will always say is that my emphasis is on employment. My emphasis is also on providing skills for the younger ones, for the younger generation. My emphasis is taking people off the street. Now, when you do that, you have taken Nigeria out of our problems. In the 8-point agenda, again, you see a lot of emphasis on skill acquisition, on the gainful employment, And even in the cabinet now, you can see the way they are bringing a lot of youth, bringing a lot of youth. That is the target. And I think about 5 million to 10 million, creating 10 million jobs. In the Ministry of Labor and Employment, it's a tax on us. It's a tax given to us. And we are also liaising with other MDAs to realize this target, because we must prepare and focus on creating jobs that will take many people off the street. Once you take people off the street, you are avoiding insecurity, you are avoiding crisis, you are avoiding strike, you are avoiding restiveness, and that country will move in peace. And while you do that, it will also help you to focus on your development plans.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. You are very welcome.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijasan. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.